Welcome, basketball fans, to another episode here of the BCL Trash Talk podcast. I am your host, and again, brought back by the trio. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Igor Curkovic. Igor, well, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm feeling good, but I'm not feeling as good as the dude who is also on the show. So here's a little intro for you. Basically, before each week's games, we do kind of a poll who's going to get the most results correct. And on Wednesday, Diccon Lloyd-Smeath, congratulations, my man, 4 out of 4. Oh, that's just amazing. So kudos and your victory speech, please.
Well, like all the broken clocks that went before me, I'm right twice a day. So I just got very lucky. That's all I'm going to say. I'd like to claim it, but I didn't give it enough thought. And if I'd given it enough thought, I would have got them wrong. So,
so basically, you got Tofaş against Manresa, right? And then that's where most of us failed, right?
I did pick Tofaş. I don't know why. That was just a feeling. You know, Manresa on a hot run, and sometimes those things come to an end. So I did pick that one, and after that, most of them kind of picked themselves, really, especially with Robertson out for Strasbourg.
All right, well, let's go into the big games, of course. There were some huge games on Tuesday, but let's go to that big one, of course. Tofaş Bursa, picking up a massive victory. Igor, give us your impressions on the fact Tofaş bringing the second defeat only, and I repeat, the second defeat to a very strong Baxi Manresa.
I think that we may have underestimated Tofaş, and that they have proven it in only 2 games of the round of 16. Because not only beaten Manresa, but they also beat Darüşşafaka, who were in a really good position when they arrived to Tofaş Bursa. But this game, it proved that A, Tomislav Zubčić is one of the best catch-and-shoot guys to have around. I'm not just saying that because he's Croat. And B, Tyler Ennis is good. And that's all you need right now. Like, without Paco Cruz, you can give the ball to Tyler Ennis and he's going to do his thing. He's back. He's looking good. He's had his all crafty finishes around the rim, and it's a joy to see him, honestly. Like, even if you're not a fan of Tofaş, even if you're not a fan of Ennis, you have to be kind of appreciative of him being back after all his injury struggles, and I personally want to wish him all the best in the league, and may he win the MVP of the Month award next time around.
All right, well, let's move on to the other game last night, of course. The one team that, I feel has been one of the strongest teams this season in the Basketball Champions League is SIG Strasbourg. Dick, and you already alluded to the fact that John Robinson was unavailable, soreness in the knee, and that absence of John Robinson proved to be bigger than we imagined. But again, I said this after the game last night. Lenovo Tenerife. It doesn't matter what season it is. Whenever I hear that name, I think of one thing: championship DNA. Have we yet again, I speak for myself on this one, have I, possibly many more, underestimated the champions of 2017?
If you
I don't think so.
If you didn't have them as a Final Four team, then yes. But, like every year, these guys are at Final Four, Final 8. That's what they do.
Honestly, they look better. They had a better summer than ever before, probably, by getting John Sastre and Kyle Wiltshire to their system, which is like adding a loaded gun here. So, and another thing, like Strasbourg are the team that broke their hearts last season. So there was a bit extra to that game, and they wanted not just to win the game, they wanted to send a message that it's not going to happen again. This is their season. And going 2-0 with 2 away games, 2 tough away games against Falco and then against Strasbourg, I mean, there's just a sign of dominance, and they are a Final Four team in everybody's eyes.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that sending a message with Tenerife in the film room, little clips that we have later. They clearly wanted to make every advantage they had, but when you have like a team like Strasbourg that is crafty tactically and they can sometimes get it out of your best player's hands, but then you have plays where Kyle Wiltshire just shoots it from anywhere and it's going in. And there was another play about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Strasbourg just trying to get back into the game. I think they had it under 10 or about 10. They played great defense. Fittipaldi must have had 50 dribbles, which is not the Tenerife way, we know. Eventually, somehow they get the ball to Aaron Dornekamp and he hits a step back three on the wing. And then it goes back up to 11 or 12. And if that's happening against Tenerife, you got no chance. Like you can do everything you want tactically, but if they're that much deeper, you're in trouble.
Unicaja, big response for them. You know, big convincing win against Filiusten after a very surprising defeat at home to U-BT Cluj-Napoca. We're about to go into the main event right now. Igor, before we go to the main event, Cluj-Napoca. You know, we talk about the great teams from the Lithuanians, the Turkeys, the Greece, the France, the big basketball nations of Europe. You know, Romania, it has a lot of potential. Like with Falco Sombate in Hungary, they're having a great season as well. But what is it about Cluj-Napoca that is making them such a great team this season in the Basketball Champions League?
I mean, if you look at their names, like the players that they have over there, if they're called Ostend, they're gonna get a lot more respect. And if they're called Unicaja, then that team would have been like, oh yeah, they're a contender. Because just when you put Patrick Richard and Stepanovic and all these guys too, and Brandon Brown, when you put them together, this is a solid team. It doesn't matter which name is on the front when you have all the big names on the back of the jersey. So when you put them together, they're always going to be trouble. And the fact that Unicaja were able to blow out Ostend this week just kind of shows how big of a win it was for Cluj to go in there and win in their previous game. So Unicaja stepped their game up this week, showed that it's not going to happen that often. Have a couple of great signings with Kralic and Mooney, and it's looking good for Unicaja, but Cluj are really an exciting team to watch.
Well, let's go to the main event. Let's go meet with Patrick Richard. This is the BCL Trash Talk Podcast. It's time for the main event. Well, welcome back now here to another episode of the BCL Trash Talk Podcast. This is the main event, and we have a very special guest with us here today. First of all, Patrick Richard, how are you doing, my brother?
Doing good after a long trip, going to Ukraine, kind of a blank trip. All is good, though. We're back home settled, trying to prepare for the next one.
Well, we have a lot of questions for you, of course. It's a very exciting time right now for you and for your basketball teams. And I'm going to give the open room now here for Igor, because he has a lot of things he wants to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, of course, but I've been a follower of what Cluj do for a number of years now, but let's just keep it in the short distance. Talk to us about the trip to Ukraine, because you got there actually and there was no game. So what happened?
Well, I mean, flying from Cluj is a little difficult, going to these international trips because we don't have so many direct flights. So a lot of times we have to go 2 days early, and we did the same in Malaga. So we go there, we think the game's going to happen. We were there, and then literally the day before the game, we got notice that these guys had COVID within their team. So they said the game's canceled, and we were like, man, we made this blank trip. We came all the way over here. We spent 8 hours in Istanbul airport just sitting there, for this layover. But we were still able to find a way to play a game coming back in our local league. But still, we were itching to play that game. We knew, it was going to be a tough one on the road. But, I mean, it is what it is in these times. These type of things happen.
One thing I want to ask you, of course, is now, you look at your team, of course, and, you've got some very good players on your team. But, the teams you've had to go up against this season, do you guys feel that you have an underdog mentality coming into the Basketball Champions League? And if so, how has that worked out for you guys this season?
Obviously, so far it's worked out pretty well, with us playing so well and stuff. But, I mean, a lot of this stuff is not surprising to us, man, because, I mean, if you look on paper and you look at our roster, like the actual players on our roster and not the U-BT Cluj-Napoca, like the name, then you would see that we have a lot of experienced players, a lot of guys that have played Champions League before, even, FIBA Europe Cup, and some experienced players that have been successful. So we from day one, you know, when Coach then made this team, we felt that we can compete with anybody. And I mean, obviously, going through the qualification rounds is difficult, you know, to win 3 games in a row, especially beating Peristeri in their home on their court when they were favorite. But we never doubted it, and we're a very confident bunch. Like the guys, everybody's on our team. We've got a mixture of older guys and some younger guys that hadn't really got their chance to play in European competition yet, so they were hungry. Stewart and Guzman for sure, but it's a good mixture, and I think, you know, so far we've been good.
I'm going to probably just give this one to Diccon because he actually wrote a brilliant feature on you guys and how you play big. But just from your point of view, like you're mainly playing outside of the lanes, and is it difficult to play with basically 2 big guys in there most of the time, with Birčević and Stepanovic or Dustin Hogan there? Does it make it tougher for you guys on the outside to have such a big lineup, or does it make it easier for you to go one-on-one?
Well, the thing is, man, like with Stepanovic, he's almost like another, I guess you could say, like point guard out on the floor kind of. So, you know, a lot of times we can play through him and not always have to make the play, because he can make plays, you know, with his passing ability. He knows how to read ball screens and slipping and cutting to the basket. So he make a lot of plays and make it easier for me and Brandon Brown a lot too, because we're, you know, predominantly the ball handlers. And then when Birčević on the court, when he's on the court, he spaces the floor because he's a shooter. And Hogg just brings unbelievable energy. So at any time he's on the floor, you know, we feel good too. So all 3 of them bring a different thing to the table, and they all 3 make it easy on us, I think.
Did it click straight away? So you mentioned, you know, when you first came into camp, I guess, and you looked around and you thought, hey, actually, maybe we're not underdogs. We have good players, but then you talk about Stepanovic as a playmaker for you guys, as a passer. And in the article, we looked at the number of times that you're cutting and he's finding you. Did that click straight away, or like, you know, was it one of those groups where the moment you stood on the floor together, you knew this was going to work, or did it take a while?
Well, you know, it's crazy, man, because the way the season started out was like kind of shaky because, I mean, okay, we bring in a new point guard this year. He gets hurt immediately. Then we had another guy, Jordan Watson. We bring him in as well, you know, just in case things, you know, we don't know what could happen. He ended up getting hurt. So then I have to play the point guard position. And I mean, I could play it, but that's not my natural position, you know. So then we bring in Tony Kotic, and he comes in and helps us tremendously. And but from day one, whenever I saw the type of roster we were bringing in and the players we were bringing in, I said, as long as everybody buys in, I said we can make something happen because we have the talent. As long as no egos got in the way, and I'm like, okay, we have a bunch of experienced guys. It shouldn't be an ego problem. And everybody's on the same page. We just want to win. So I mean, yeah, like as you can tell, every night is somebody different. It's been somebody different almost all 7 games I think we played in the league. So we definitely are confident in everybody that plays.
When you talk about having so many good players on your team, let's go back to when you guys had to play Hulan. I think it was at home, the double overtime or the triple overtime game it was. You guys had to peg back. Guy Panini hits a couple of threes. And you talk about, you know, not having those egos and having so many options. I look at your lineup. I mean, you've got yourself, Elijah Stewart. You've got, you know, Stefan Birčević, Serbian international. I mean, even the big fella, Andrija Stepanovic. I mean, if the game is on the line, how do you guys as a team decide who's going to get the last shot to either take that game into overtime or even to walk away with the victory?
I mean, it's almost who's, I guess, feeling it at the time. But then even in that Halon game, like I hadn't been really making just shots the whole entire game, but coach trusted me at the end, and I just stepped up and made 2 big, like crazy big shots. But no one looks down and be like, oh man, he's called to play for him. Like, no, all right, let's execute, and whoever is for it, we're just gonna get this guy the ball, and we trust that everybody can make those shots. So it's not an ego thing from top to bottom. You know, we trust what the coach, you know, is giving us and what we work on throughout the week. Like I said, we just take it one game at a time, man. And we do, like you asked earlier about this underdog mentality. We take it in and we kind of run with it a little bit because we're from a small country, and I know, like, human nature, man, people could just be like, man, Romanian team, like, are you serious? You know, like, but we just kind of try to prove, you know, to them and to ourselves that we belong.
Has there been a win that felt the best? You know, especially in terms of that mentality, like making people respect you and like just because you're a Romanian team. Was there a big win for you?
Well, I mean, the first three, of course, the qualification, each of those were like super important because, I mean, as a club, we've tried. I know since I've been here, we tried once last year, we didn't make it. And I know they've been trying for years and years and could never get over the hump. So I guess, getting over the hump, that was big. But for me, it was the first game against Dashiell Faulkner. We playing an ex-EuroLeague, Euro Cup, team that just has all this history, and they come to our home. We don't have a point guard, so to say, for the first game. And we find a way to win an ugly game. It wasn't just the most beautiful game to watch, but we find a way to win an ugly game. So, and I think that helped us with confidence too. Like, oh no, we really do belong here, and we proved it to ourselves that night. And then we just kind of just kept on going, man, and just taking it one game at a time.
You had the MVP of the month and Brandon Brown. Did you? I mean, you probably expected it because he's an awesome player, but he had a tough injury, and basically that was his first full month of playing basketball. Did you expect him to have such an instant impact?
Well, with him, man, obviously we brought him in to do these type of things, and he had an unfortunate injury at the beginning. Like I said, other guys had to step up, but when he came back in, we just brought him in and tried to make him feel as comfortable as possible. Like, hey, man, just be yourself. Just be you on the floor. And it started with obviously playing games here in Romania, for him to get his feet wet, kind of get going, get a rhythm, and he just basically took it one game at a time, getting his rhythm in the games, because there's only so much practicing we could actually do, like hard practices. So, but like I said, they brought him here for that reason. And now, he's really in a good rhythm and playing well consistently now, as he's gotten his feet wet and gotten back to being himself, from that injury.
Well, just want to ask you a question about some of your teammates, of course. But, the one player that I watch out on your team, of course, other than yourself, is Elijah Stewart. What is it like having a player of that high caliber on your team?
Hey, look, man, I think sometimes he doesn't even understand how good he could really be, because he hasn't, he's played, high-level college, but he hasn't played high-level Europe yet. And this is really his first time, playing in some European competition. And he just plays, man. He just make plays that easy. He's efficient, and a lot of times when he's on the floor, we like, look, man, let's just run it through him now. He makes tough shots, and he just keeps going. And then defensively, he cleans up a lot of mistakes. Him and Guzman are just, these guys are like ball hawks, man. Like, you might beat them, and they come out of nowhere and they just block shots. They just keep playing. And that's that thing I said. Whenever you're younger, like, it's almost like you don't even know what you're doing at the moment. You're just kind of doing it. And he's that guy, but he got so much talent, and so I'm happy on our team. So,
whilst we're on the topic of teammates, I want to take it slightly off, like to the left a little, because you talk about the journey to Ukraine, and you guys out of Cluj must have had, if you've had a direct flight, I don't know if you've had a direct flight to anywhere, but with the chemistry you have, who's the best person to sit next to on the plane, and who's the worst person to sit next to on the plane? And
so me, I sleep every flight, so I don't know. I wouldn't even know who's sitting next to me, to be honest with you. But because, man, when I get on the road, I'm home with the kids and stuff. I get on the road, I try to get that sleep in. But I don't know, man. Like, me and Steeper get along well, from playing together last year, winning a championship here. Me and him get along real well. So I guess with him. And then, I don't know, Dustin Hogg is a pretty funny guy, man. He always like cracking jokes, doing little slick stuff. So maybe you might not want to sit next to him, man. He do some little slick stuff.
The biggest news about Cluj around Europe, basically over the past couple of years, was when they hired Dule Vujošević to be like the coach, the consultant. Have you worked with him? What was that experience like? Because that's probably one of the biggest coaching names in recent European basketball history, and we know how demanding he can be. What was it like?
And it was special because like my first year coming here, I knew who he was. Of course I follow European basketball, and I knew a guy that played for him, and he was like, look, man, I'm telling you, like, he's a little different, bro. But they told me, that he had been struggling, he had some health issues and stuff. So I'm like, okay, so he might not be as bad, but he knows the game. Like, he knows so much basketball, and even though he doesn't speak English, you can understand almost everything, just being around him. And we had some success the first year, but then COVID, cut the season out. And then last year, obviously we didn't make the Champions League, but we ended up winning a championship here. And that was my first time seeing him show some emotion, like, in 2 years, man. So the game is winding down, and all of a sudden, man, he just looks at me and he tells me to come over, and he just grabbed me, start crying. I was like, this can't be real, like I never saw him show any type of emotion like that. But it just showed how much he cared, and he definitely helped, the club here, and he helped me for sure. So I mean, I'm appreciative to play under him. Like I said, this dude knows a lot of basketball. He's been successful, coached a lot of great players, but he is a little bit different. He's very demanding, like you say.
I want to go right back to the left again, because this is the BCL Trash Talk podcast. Okay, I thought Diccon kind of got it started there. You do have a great coach. We know you're a great player, but let's go. Who talks the most trash in practice? Who really just, whether it's a one-on-one drill, shooting drill, who really just lets everybody know that they're the best on the court?
Dustin Hogg, for sure. Because he feels like nobody can score on him. He feels like nobody can do anything against him. So if he's switching, he's talking. Just the entire practice, but what he found out that I actually like that. So if he's on the opposite team and we just going like this the whole game, and coach, I guess a lot of times in Europe, man, a lot of coaches, they don't like that. They think it's confrontation, but it's all fun, man. From the States, we do this all the time. Been doing this since we was kids. So we'll go back and forth, friendly banter and stuff like that. But it makes the practice fun, and it's competitive, like very competitive. I think that helps us too, man. Like with games and stuff, it can make things easier.
Does it make it difficult for you to keep him under control during the games? I know that when you played away at Darushafuka, that he was, it wasn't emotional, it was above emotional.
Yeah. We have those talks, man, because like I said, like we have a lot of different personalities though. Because we have some guys that are really quiet, and then some guys that are really vocal, and then some guys that are too vocal. So we try to bring that down, but we never try to take the emotion away from how these guys play, the intensity they play with. And the coach tells us that. I don't want to take that away from you, but I want you to kind of tone it down at certain times. You got to know when to do certain things, because it can hurt us, in some games. But man, we kind of let them guys be themselves, man. They've been playing for, a while, and they've been successful. So, I mean, it's been working for them,
You spoke about Coach Silverson there. Like, this is kind of, as much as you guys are making a mark for the club, he's also kind of making a mark. And what is it about the way that he coaches that works? What there seems to be a real click between you guys as a team and with the coach.
Man, he's like a player's coach, man. Like it's fun to play for him because in offense, our offense, you see a lot of these tactical things we do, but he kind of gives us a lot of freedom too. When you have that freedom, I guess a player that likes to score or like to make plays, the coach give you freedom, then he give you even more energized on the defensive end. So, like I said, man, everything is all good because he's like I say, I think he's a player coach. He played, for years. He's not just like, he's only like 36, 37 years old, so he can relate to talk to him off the court, stuff like that about anything, man. And like I said, it's my third year here. So I've gotten to really know him, from the first year to now, and meet him, have a really good relationship. And you could always go talk to him. Even in the game, we give him suggestions. He's not one of those guys that's real stubborn, like, no, this is my way, we do it my way. He'll hear you out. And he still might say, this is my way, we'll do it my way. But he'll at least hear you out. The communication is always pretty good.
The game against Malaga was massive because I don't think many people would have expected you guys to go to southern Spain and to walk away with a victory. But you guys grinded it out. You played very well. What has that done for your confidence, the confidence of your team, and looking at your next opponents here in the round of 16?
But before coming into that game, man, we were confident. I'm going to be honest with you. Our group, I feel our first group was one of the toughest groups. And we ended up, going 5-1 in that group, losing one game and playing some good basketball. And then, going to Spain, I know personally about ACB because, I played there and I know Malaga is tough every year. I know they was missing some guys and stuff like that, but that's a part of the times right now, things like that happen. But our goal was just to go play our game and be ourselves and try to get that first one on the road because our first game was supposed to actually be at home. But then the Jerusalem and Prometi series went longer, so we had to adjust that. But our first game was on the road, and we're like, man, we just try to go on the road and try to steal some wins on the road because it's tough to win on the road, and try to protect home as best we can. So we went there with confidence and came away with a tough win, but we got to move on because it is what it is. We had Prometi, but now we got a tough Ostende team coming in here.
So you said that you went into Malaga confident. Are you guys going to the Final Four?
Hey, man, I don't know, man. We take it one game at a time, man, honestly. And I'm being super honest with you. We literally take one game at a time. And every single game is a different one because, every team is different. So we take it one at a time. But our goals and our aspirations, we thinking that. We think, but like I said, we take it one at a time, though.
That's a little too humble for the BCL Trash Talk podcast.
Hey, man, that's me, man. This is me.
You are such a great person. You know that. You are such a kind, benevolent. But this is the BCL Trash Talk podcast.
Yes, I know. But like I said, we feel confident in our group. Like I said, we got 3 tough teams. We played only one already. So we haven't even played these guys yet. Ostende and Prometi. We know they got good rosters, but we'll see.
We'll ask you again when you played everybody once.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I have a different answer for you.
Let's talk about the next game against Ostende. Basically, it will be, I want to call it like a similar style clash because both of you are high on offense. Cluj became the first ever team to score 100 plus points in 3 straight BCL games, so that already was record breaking. Meanwhile, Ostend, until they played Malaga this week, they were 3rd best offensive rating team in the entire BCL. So is it going to be offense against offense? Should we expect 200 points between the two of you?
Man, to be honest, man, we want to try to get stopped. So hopefully they're not scoring 80, 90 points on our home floor. But, it depends on how the game goes. But they do have a lot of guys that can score. And like you said, they were 3rd in offensive rating, before this game in Malaga. And I know they're going to be hungry trying to get a win back from after losing the first game. So, but we at home and we can't wait to play in front of our fans. We hadn't played home in quite some time. So we hope, our fans come out and give us some home court advantage and try to get another one.
Is Cluj home for you personally? You've been there for a long time now. How did you end up in Cluj anyway? Is there a funny story behind it, or is it something that you wanted? And did you expect to be there for such a long time?
No way, bro. No way. Because to be honest, man, right before I signed in Cluj, I was thinking about stop playing. Because when I was in Italy, I went to Reggio Emilia and I hurt my back really bad. And then when I came back, I just kind of was kind of scared, a little timid, because the back, man, is kind of scary. And then that summer, my wife was like, nah, you need to give it another try. If it don't work, okay, cool. But if it does work, all right, let's roll with it. And Cluj is almost the only team that wanted me, really wanted me. Some other teams would offer something here and there. And I'm like, come on, man. I can't just go backwards, especially financially. I'm like, there's no way. I'm about to be 29, 30 years old. I can't do it. And they wanted me. So I was like, well, Romania, I guess. It is what it is. I didn't know much about Romania. I had played here once, not Cluj though. We had played Oradea, but just took a chance with it and fell in love with it. And my family, my son was born here last year, so it feels like home. But like I said, I take it 1 year at a time. And I signed an extension a couple years ago. So and then I'm Romanian. I play with the national team, stuff like that. So a lot of things happen that I didn't expect to happen for sure.
It feels like home. Is there a feeling within the club, especially with the fact that you're a national team guy, is there a feeling that you guys are doing something for Romanian basketball and for the club with this group?
100%. And you know how I really know? Because, okay, the club is a club for sure. And you can tell because pretty much everybody that's working played here. So they all pretty much, they just bleed, black and white. But you could tell by when you go around the league and you play other teams in the league, and the first thing they'd be like, man, congrats, man, to you guys, man, you guys are doing well, So I think it helps, it helps the league, it helps, the country, bring awareness to basketball here because it's not a big basketball country. And, us winning and stuff, I guess, it makes them, feel like, okay, like, you know, our team, I guess at the time right now, we're in first place here. You know, like, man, they playing some good basketball in Europe, beating some big teams that nobody thought we would beat, for sure.
Well, I think that probably wraps it up here from the BCL Trash Talk podcast. Well, Patrick Rashad, first of all, finally I get your name right. That's the first part. I'm really happy about that. But look, thank you for joining us here, man. We appreciate it. And, you know, Cluj, you've been fantastic this season. The sky is the limit, my brother. All the best to you.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Well, we are back now here in the film room. You just saw Patrick Rashad there in the main event from Cluj-Napoca. But right now, Diccon Lloyd-Smeath has something here from the film room. Diccon, show us some tactics here for the Basketball Champions League.
I want to look at dead ball plays. We just talked about the big wins of the round. So first up, this one really caught my eye. It's from a dead ball. And I must have Malaga on my mind at the moment because you know, I've just written an article and I seem to be talking about them a lot. But then this play from Katsikaris really stood out to me because he made a sub before he took Diaz out, and it was clearly with the intention to run something like this. And if we watch this play, it looks like a normal dribble handoff coming here, and looks like they're going to go to the other side and hit another dribble handoff. But then if you watch that through and you don't realize what just happened, you're going to think they just walked through to the rim. Brizuela just walked through to the rim without any kind of defense. But if we take it back a step, it looks like a dribble weave because they go handoff and then the 45 cut to clear some space. But instead of the handoff, Brizuela decides to screen his own man because Ustenda's switching. Next one up, we're going to Tenerife. And I want you to look at the clock. This is the first play of the game. We spoke earlier in the show about Tenerife coming out to send a message to Strasbourg, and because they knocked them out last year. And this is not an accident. The fact is they went straight into to Giorgi Shermadini from the first play. And I can be confident it's not an accident that they're trying to send a message here that we have you guys covered inside. We're going to come and beat you up around the rim. Because the first play from the second quarter, it did exactly the same thing. All right, so just quickly, we go back to this play just to show you what it is that they did. All right, it looks like they're going to run a UCLA cut here with Huertas coming off this screen, but he rejects it and comes straight back up again and has enough separation to catch the ball. They're switching, and now he's got a clear run into Shermadini. We let it run this time through to the second time. And again, we're running the same play, hit the wing, fake the UCLA. This time it's Fittipaldo, screen down, and they better defense here. This time, Strasbourg know what's coming, and they sit on the top of Sulemanovic here. So the ball goes out to the wing, can't get the entry, so then they have to go into the ball screen. It's a great pass, but still good defense, and somehow Tenerife still find a way to finish and make the most of it, their size inside. So that's kind of like the story of the game, really. And the last one, Dijon picked up a great win against Holon. So a really nice set. If we watch it through, again, it looks like that's way too easy down into Gavin Ware there. If we check it again, it's actually really nice misdirection. So one screen runs off. So now Gavin Ware's defender is expecting the ball to go in the post, so he's fronting. All right, and then as he's fronting, on the weak side, they're distracted by this screening action, misdirection, throw it over the top, easy too. So again, really nice execution from Dijon there. All right, so that's the film room this week. Just have a quick look at some of the best execution from dead ball situations or after timeouts.
Well, it looks like JDR Dijon and Lenovo Tenerife really try to force the ball down low. But if you're the defense and you've got to go up against a Giorgi Shermadini or, of course, a Gavin Ware, I mean, what do you have to do at that point? Do you have to double team and you give up a wide open shooter? I mean, what do you do in that situation, Dick?
Well, in the second clip, they did a better job. They managed to stay in front of him this time. So they managed to stay between him and the pass. But the truth is, you have to stop him catching it. You have to do everything you can to stop him catching it, like they did against Sulemanovic in the second clip. But sometimes even that is not enough when you're up against size. With Strasbourg, we saw them last year use a bunch of double teams and where they're sending the double from. Often they like to come from along the baseline where he can't see him coming and he can't turn over his shoulder. But really, if he's catching it that deep in the paint, it's going to be a basket. It's going to be 2 points.
Whenever you get late in the game, of course, and you're getting into the penalty, the first thing you think with your Aretas Vilnius, you throw the ball down to Ivan Buva. The same thing with Lenovo Tenerife. You got Yorgi Shermadini, Jedia Dijon. You got a Gavin Ware. That point, you only hope when the double teams come, wide open shooter spot up. Hey, Diccon, again, thank you so much. The film room, it's my personal favorite part here of the BCL Trash Talk podcast. Always a pleasure, my brother.
Oh, I'm honored.
Well, that is this episode of this week's BCL Trash Talk podcast. More games to come next week. But for now, see you later. Got it.
We seem to lose Igor there, huh?